All right, so welcome to the Take Your Health Back Now podcast. This week we are doing a guest chat. I don't like to say interview, that seems very formal. So we're chatting with Lauren here. She is a current client of ours and has had kind of a long health journey, and things have turned around pretty quickly. So Jenni, Kendra, and Lauren today. We'll jump into just kind of some background on some of the things that she came to us with, not specific, and then we'll let her share her journey.
Yeah. So she did come to us with SIBO, and I just wanted to do a quick kind of overview on SIBO. If you are familiar with SIBO, you definitely know about it. Other people have heard about it and think maybe they have it, but what SIBO is it is an overgrowth of parasitic bacteria in your small bowel due to a mobility issue. So if we have more neurons in our intestinal tract. It's called the gut-brain connection, if you ever heard about that. But if they get damaged, if these neurons get damaged, then the mobility slows down or stops. And when that happens, the bacteria can overgrow in that small bowel is what happens. And so basically they're just sitting there, not moving through like they should, just eating away. And then it causes just, bloating and very uncomfortable, painful gas and all kinds of other issues. And it's really hard to eliminate this issue. And with conventional medicine, traditionally what they do is they just give you rounds of antibiotics trying to kill these bacteria, which just further exacerbates the problem. It's a huge problem. So, but as always with, when we do our podcast, we're always empowering you and telling you that there is an answer. There's always an answer, and there is hope, and you can do this the right way and eliminate it and completely turn things around for yourself. So, that's where Lauren was when she came to us, and we just wanted to hear her journey and where she is now. So we'll kind of hand it over to you, Lauren.
All right. Yeah. So I originally thought that everything started in 2020, which is when I was in nursing school. But after talking with you guys, I think it did probably start in 2018 when I started oral hormonal birth control. I just remember one specific time that it was kind of around the time when I started that birth control, that looking back, I can now say it was like that built up gas feeling in my abdomen. But
Right.
at the time, I did not know what I was experiencing other than just a stomach ache. But so I kind of am assuming it started around the 2018 area timeline.
Right.
But so then I was in college. I was in nursing school. It was very stressful. I've always kind of resorted back to working out as a stress relief, but looking back, I don't know how relieving that was for my stress. A lot of the time my workouts were HIIT workouts, or I was doing a lot of lifting. I would stress about, oh, do I have time to work out today? I really don't want to work out today, but I need to go work out. And handling nursing school, all of my exams, all of my clinicals and stuff like that. And then I always thought I was eating healthy, but looking back, I probably wasn't. It was a lot of chicken, turkey, rice. I felt like I was eating a lot of vegetables, but probably not enough. I did a lot of eggs and potatoes, cheese, yogurt, peanut butter, fruit. And then, I got into the protein powder and the greens powder. So yes, looking back, it makes my skin crawl knowing that I put this stuff in my body, but that's part of the journey and it is what it is.
Right. And if you
I
don't
did not eat
have
out.
yeah, if you don't have that information, you're just listening to what people are telling
Yeah.
you, and that's such a common,
Mhm.
healthy diet. Lots of protein,
Yeah.
work out, work out, work out,
Yeah.
and it is,
And
yeah,
social media totally will pull you into that stuff. You follow these girls who work out and they look a certain way, and they want everyone to follow what they're doing. And so you kind of have the mindset of oh, she looks so good, I need to eat more protein. And blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, again, like that's all I knew,
Right.
unfortunately. But, and then on top of that, I'm in college, it's the weekend, the girls want to go out. So then, I end up going out and then I'm drinking. And then the next morning I feel like crap. And so it's just a constant cycle over and over. And then I was starting to notice like more frequent bowel movements and urgency and running to the bathroom. Even like walking to class in the morning, I would have to like kind of think about like, oh, I can't drink any water because that's going to make me have a bowel movement. So like it was a huge, like, I had to put a lot of thought into how my bowels will act.
Right.
I've always had like the mindset of like you are what you eat and food is fuel. And I guess I really didn't know what that meant until now because I feel my best now and I actually am using my food as fuel and it's not making me feel like crap. So, it just kind of goes back to there's a lot of education that goes into all of this. And I'm very fortunate that I am now feeling better, but I guess, everyone goes through all of this stuff, but moving forward, I had little to none like stress management techniques. Like I said, I would say working out, like people would be like, especially in nursing school, it's so important to have like the stress management techniques and what do you do for stress? And everyone's like, oh, I work out, I work out, I work out. And like I would say I work out because I thought that's what I was doing to relieve stress. And it definitely was not a stress reliever looking back.
Right. And now
And
too that
then,
it adds to, if you've got this bucket, we always talk about the
oh,
threshold bucket. If you have that threshold bucket that's already overflowing, yours just happen to be presenting in this way. And then when you have that lack of
yeah,
stress management, you have all that stress coming in, you have the heavy
yeah,
workouts, all of that still just adding, which now,
yeah,
but people just don't know. And you're right. And it just
yeah.
exacerbates the whole problem. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I mean, like, and I would like my workouts, like those were pretty difficult. Like my heart rate would get really high, and like I would really push myself. Um, but yes, like I said, looking back, that was probably not the best idea. But again, I didn't know.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah. And
So,
there are a
yeah.
lot of people that, if they're dealing with health issues that aren't necessarily like muscle or pain issues, and even sometimes those people, a lot of times working out really heavy is an answer for them because it seems
Right.
healthy. And then your brain floods with all of these chemicals. So directly after, at the end, you feel good. So you feel like you're
mhm,
getting a boost. So
Right.
your brain's like, okay, I felt better then, so let's keep doing that. But then you're dealing with all of this,
right.
you know, energy suck and micro
Yeah,
tears and healing. And so it is
right.
kind of, for a lot of people, it's a hard cycle to get out of until they
Yeah,
can really see the other side of it. So it is really
yeah,
good that you're seeing.
yeah. Yeah, and like I, I remember like kind of what you said, like immediately after my workouts, I would feel good. And then an hour later,
Right.
I was like done for. Like I was and then I'm like, okay, I have to get up because I have to go study for this test. But I'm like, I'm so exhausted. It's just I was just in like a constant stress, pretty much is what it was.
Right.
Um,
So that's where
but
you were when you
I
came
did.
to us. Is that right?
Yes. Well, and I do have some more stuff too, but because I did go see a GI doctor, and he
Hmm.
gave me like an antispasmodic and just said, you have IBS. And I'm like, okay, but like that doesn't really help me. And then I did have blood in my stool. I'm trying to think of when that was. And my dad he had ulcerative colitis and colon cancer. So that made my GI doctor be like, okay, let's do a colonoscopy. Um, so then yes, I think that's the correct timeline. I did the colonoscopy. He looked at my large intestines. That was fine, but then he was able to see like the end of my small intestines and he said that it was red, eroded, and inflamed. So he was questioning Crohn's. Um, and my biopsies for that came back negative. So then he was like, let's test you for SIBO. So we did that. And that was positive. So then he put me on the antibiotics for 2 weeks, which I was already hesitant. I'm a nurse. I know what antibiotics do to you, but I just needed answers. I needed to feel better. So I was like, whatever, I will do it. Unfortunately. So I did do the antibiotics for 2 weeks, and that did absolutely nothing for me. And then also kind of in this time too, I got my labs drawn, and my cholesterol was like all out of whack. I was like high, and then I was like B12 deficient. So I knew like I was not, like something was going on, and it was not good. I mean, so that also then was creating anxiety, because I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this under control, I'm going to end up as a patient. And I don't ever want to be a patient ever in the hospital, just because I know how the healthcare system is. And so then that was making me freak out. So then I was like, you know what? I'm done doing this. And I did some research on functional medicine, and I found Dr. Duquette.
Right. And I think you came to us right after you took that round of antibiotics, right?
Yeah. I think, yeah, yes, I did, because I finished it was like over like the Thanksgiving time. And then I think I got a hold of you guys in December, maybe. Like,
Yeah,
I think it was right after.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I know that was a really good, like, brief synopsis, but you had all these other symptoms too. And like, it feels like a lot of those little symptoms just kept adding, like you can't eat this and you're reacting to that. And, you know, and that's where a lot of people get to when they come to us. But it's those things, you know, back, like, it's good that you started farther back, because it's good to connect that. Because a lot of people think, what one thing happened to get me to this point where I'm so sick.
Right.
And if you feel that way, then it's harder to get your mind around. You need to do more than one thing to get yourself not sick.
Right.
Yeah. And that it's a whole lifestyle. And it is a lot of trust. You know, we appreciate that with all of our clients. And like you're like, but I'm doing good things. Are you sure it's going to work? And just trusting that process, and then being able to see that change really does help when nothing has changed before. Like, doctors are giving you things and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So when you can see those like immediate changes and you're feeling better, then you don't need further tests and further labels, because you know your body has more information in it than a lab test does. And once you connect into that, like, I know you know that you're doing so much better just because of how you feel in your daily life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And have you been working with us for 3 months, or is this going on 4 months?
3, 4. I think I like the whole like diet part, actually like getting into, because I had a vacation in January that I was like, I don't think I can. That was a little rough for me to like actually follow this type of diet on vacation. So it was after, what was it, like probably January 10th-ish?
Right. So
yeah, it was mid-January when you really committed to it. I know you were doing it kind of like light version while you were on vacation. But yeah, the committed, really sticking to that boot camp section that we call it at the beginning. You're just coming up on 3 months, I think, in a week and a half here. So
and I will say that, okay, so 3 months, you know, we talk about this a lot. Generally, 3 months in is about whatever you come to us with, whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be SIBO, that's what we're talking about today, but whatever it is, generally about 3 months, people are feeling so much better, and the majority of their symptoms are gone. And Lauren already had a case of this closer to the beginning when she started, but usually about 3 months, people are feeling so great that then they start doing too much, because they're like, I feel better than I felt in years, and now I'm going to do all this. And then like they can have a setback because it's just your body's not ready for that. So it was about a month in, right? Or maybe not even that far. All of a sudden.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it might have been like, I think it might have been 3 weeks where I was like, oh my gosh. And I cleaned my whole house, and I didn't sit down the whole day, and then I kind of paid for it. But it's just, I've never felt that good. It was hard for me to sit down. I mean, and now I can kind of recognize, like, even like this morning, my boyfriend and I, we picked up sticks in the yard, and then I was like, okay, that's enough activity for probably the day. So
Right.
I'm kind of like recognizing how I feel and listening to that, which I struggled with for obviously the first 3 weeks, but it's just,
Yeah.
I've never felt this good ever in my life. So
Right.
it's hard to just sit on the couch and watch TV or whatever.
Right.
Right.
But
But
you
that
get to the
is
point where
a
you can
part.
do as much as you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely part of the process. You will have those, and you've had these where it's kind of ups and downs, and
Yeah.
you're feeling, two steps forward and then one back. It's not necessarily a setback, but it wasn't a straight line. And now moving forward is where people tend to see that more consistent, just
Yeah.
moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so telling to say that you've never felt that good in your
Mhm.
life, and you are a
Right.
young person. So it
Mhm.
kind of makes you realize that even though you had some kind of catalyst events in your health journey, you probably never had a really solid foundation of health,
Yeah.
even
No.
growing up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're seeing that so much more. Like people are just not well from when they're
Yeah.
born. So then
Yeah.
you don't have like something to compare to of what you
Yeah.
should be able to feel like or what people can feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, I mean, even when I was younger, I had horrible anxiety. I even
Right.
had like bowel issues when I was younger. I mean, like my parents would like leave for the weekend and go on a trip or whatever, and we'd have to stay with the babysitter, and I was like a wreck. Like, so I know like it's been this just leading up to all of this is kind of, but again, like I said, it's part of the journey. So
Yes.
Right. But that also is a good, it shows you, and we see this a lot with other people too. People don't understand that they're unwell, like
Right.
Jenny was saying, because
right.
you have no reference. You feel like that's you, that's all you've
Yeah.
known. And so you got to the point where it was kind of a crisis situation when you came to us. But
Yeah.
before that, you probably didn't realize that you really didn't feel the very best until you finally
Exactly.
do feel the best.
Yeah.
And you're only 3 months in, so think how great you're gonna feel in 3 more months or,
Yeah.
next year,
Right. I
you
know.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
amazing.
I like people I talk to about all of this stuff, they're like, "Oh, I have tummy issues." And I'm like, "Oh
Mhm.
God, like you should probably get a hold of that before
Yeah.
you end up where I
Right.
was." Because like the amount of people that are like, "Oh, I have gut issues too." Like I'm going to the bathroom all the time too. And I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, you better get a hold of it.
Right, and that you can. And the way
Yeah.
you described it in the beginning where you said you were even had to be cognizant of the water you were taking in case it caused you to have a bowel issue, and you're always
Yeah.
looking for bathrooms and what's
Hmm.
gonna happen. There are so many people, like you said, with GI issues of all different kinds. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
SIBO, it can be Crohn's,
Right.
it can be ulcerative colitis, IBS, just random strange stuff going on. But so many people, their whole life revolves around this,
Hmm.
can I go out today? Where is the nearest bathroom just in case, and the embarrassment and can you go out and socialize with friends? Can you do this? Can you do
Yeah.
this? So it really all of a sudden just encompasses your whole world. And there are
Yeah.
so many people, you're right, that are experiencing something along those lines.
Yeah.
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 And again, they
And
just don't know
right. And
that
it's
there are
usually such a
answers.
gradual creep that it's like you're
Right.
dealing with it occasionally, and then it's a little more often, and then you don't realize that you're restricting your fluid intake on a daily
Yeah.
Right.
basis to kind of mitigate these issues. And because it's happened over time, you just it's not like a car accident where all of a sudden things are different. It's just gradually,
Mhm.
gradually, and no one has anyone around them, like you just said, telling them, hey, that's going to get
Mhm.
worse. Here's some
Mhm.
things you can do. You need to look at this.
Yeah.
That's kind of our like big ultimate goal.
Right.
Right.
Is to get the whole world to a point where, since you're young, you understand the healthy lifestyle and how those choices impact your life and what foundational health is, so that people
Yeah.
don't get to that point and they aren't so, like, people feel very solitary, like very alone, because it's
Right.
not something you want to talk to other people
Yeah.
about. And there's not a lot of information about just general lifestyle based health and wellness out there. It's always a procedure or a medication, that you go in and your doctor tells you, and you have very little control over it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of told us your journey getting to this point. So, and we really appreciate you talking about this, Lauren, because a
Yeah.
lot of people don't like to talk about what's been going on with them, but it's just so helpful for other people. But, the severity of your symptoms when you came in, if you could kind of just address that, and then, like you said, you feel amazing now, but what is gone for you? Like, what's
Okay.
been replaced?
Sure. So I would say like like the two things that like always just come straight to my brain is the bowel movements, the urgency and the frequency of the bowel movements, the extreme fatigue, and I think those two I would probably say are like the top two. But I also, now that I'm feeling better, like looking back, I had like I feel like I have this like overall like sense of like happiness. My dad died in September of 2023, so that was also another huge anxiety stressor that was put on me and my family. And it was honestly kind of unexpected, but he like I feel just like overall just like happier. I had like a friend's baby shower over the weekend, and I was talking to my mom because she was invited too, and I was like, 4 months ago, if this was like happening on the weekend, I would like be dreading it. I would be like, I just want to stay home. I don't want to go do anything. I'm tired. I would want to nap. I would just, like, not want to like get myself dressed and shower and like be happy and ready to go to this baby shower. And Saturday I was like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to shower, I'm going to put a little makeup on, I'm going to look cute. And I just had like this overall sense of like happiness for myself, like, and my friend. And prior to that, I would have been like, oh, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
So just like an overall sense of like happiness and calmness. If 4 months ago you asked me to hop on a Zoom call, I would have been freaking out. I would have been sweating. I would have been a complete disaster. And like this morning, I was like, I'm kind of nervous, but it'll be fine. And like, so like those are huge things that I didn't necessarily recognize 4 months ago, 3 to 4 months ago. But now that I feel so good, I'm like, dang, I guess I was like a really unhappy person. Um,
Well, it's that
and
whole
then
gut-brain connection, and you don't
yeah,
realize,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Also, you had severe pain, didn't you? Like because of the
yes,
bloating
yes.
and
The
the
bloating
uncomfortable.
was, yeah, at the end of the day, no matter what, I looked 8 months pregnant when I obviously wasn't. So if you just think about, like, I always like would tell people or like my family, I'm like, it feels like there's like a balloon in my stomach, and if I just took a needle and popped it, I would feel fine. And that was like constant every day.
Mm.
And then I would also have like these stomach aches while I'm sitting on the toilet having a bowel movement, and I would be rocking back and forth. My face is so red. I have tears coming from my eyes because of how bad the pain was. So
Right.
that, and then just like the anxiety of, leaving in the morning and like, oh, can I drink some water? I mean, I'm still healing. I'm only 3 months in. So I do still sometimes have like the urgent bowel movements, but um way, 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 way better than what it was. So I would say those are probably my top complaints I came with and
Mhm.
what I feel like now.
Right. And you notice, and again, it's anything that people are experiencing that's a chronic condition of any kind, but you'll notice the urgency and the a time span between whatever a flare up is for that particular person. You just described what it was for yours. As you're healing and you're going through and time is going on, that the time between having these flare-ups, you know, gets longer and longer, and then the urgency and how bad they are comes down. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of it's a slow progression, you know, an up and down,
Right.
ebb and flow, slow progression of finally going away. Yeah, so that was a good way, you know, describing that the way you did. But it seems like with anything that anyone comes to us with, it's the same way across the board. It doesn't just go away, you know, 3 months in, gone,
Right.
you know, we're all good. That's
Right.
not the way it works.
Right. Right.
But so anyway, that was a good description with that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I know I've talking to you, I have heard you mention that before about the more joyful feeling and you're
Yeah.
happier and overall
Yeah.
sense of well-being. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that 4 months ago you would have not thought of because you
Right.
didn't know
No.
that that's what you were lacking, you know?
Yes, I did not. I mean, I just thought it was something, you know, it was normal to just not want to go to your friend's baby shower. Like, I don't know. But I was like, I remember driving there with my mom and I'm like happy about this. Like, this is not like me to be like this joyful about, and as bad as that sounds, I mean, nothing against my friend, nothing about like against the pregnancy, nothing. But I was just like, wow, like you know, I'm kind of like excited to like see everyone and mingle and whatever. But yeah, so I really
Right.
enjoy that part of things just because, like I said, I didn't realize that's what I was also missing in life.
Mhm.
So it's like nice to kind of have that feeling.
Right.
Yeah, we love hearing that. And I want to say that with anything, you know, the more you commit to something, the faster change is going to happen. Obviously,
Right.
that can go in both directions.
Yeah.
But yes, Lauren is someone who really did commit to the recommendations and the lifestyle change. And
Yeah.
even when you had questions about like, okay, well, why am I doing this? You were still doing it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like that has had a really big impact on
Yeah.
the speed of change and the kind of amount of change that you've seen. And I think it will definitely be a big factor in this is something that's going to continue in the right direction. And you will, you know, years down the road, you'll probably think back on this and be like, was it really that bad? You know,
Right.
because you'll be feeling great and it will be have been so long that our brains kind of try to put that in the past. So
Right. Right.
I'm definitely you know, looking forward to a couple years down the road and seeing where you're at.
Yeah.
Right. Like the podcast we did with a couple weeks ago with a
Yeah.
past patient, and it was almost 3 years. And yeah, it's just really interesting. And like, well, kind of what Jenny was saying, the people like Lauren that embrace this, you know what you want, you know what you want your life to be, and you embrace this, whether you can wrap your mind around it or not, but you do it. And you will be someone that will embrace this as a lifestyle moving forward because you know that this is what you
Yeah.
have to do, and you look at it from a positive perspective, how it's changed your life, rather than I can't do that, it's
Yeah.
too hard. I'm going to do part of it. What? I
Yeah.
have to keep doing this after 6 months, that kind of thing. And that mindset piece is huge.
Yeah.
And really resolving these issues and then preventing them from ever coming back.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that that has helped me. You know, I can, as hard as, you know, this is, I can easily see how people can fall off. I
Right.
mean,
Mhm.
it, you know, I'm going to work and the doctor brings in donuts for us and I'm not going to eat it, but I would love to have the donut. But, you know, I can easily see how people can fall into like their old habits. So I do think that like the whole mindset thing of, you know, that this is my goal, I want to feel better, and has helped me, you know, with like the change quickly. But pretty much what I'm saying is I can see how people do fall off, but if they have the strength to stay on, I'm sure that everyone that would do it would feel better. So
Right.
And that is a big piece of what we do because there's lots of lifestyle information out there. You know, like we talked about at the beginning, you can find influencers who look great. You don't know what's going on internally with them though. So having someone like that, your practitioner or your mentor, like checking in and keeping you on track, I think that's a huge part of why what we do is so successful all the time,
Yeah,
because you're not out there by yourself trying to figure it out.
for sure.
And when you have a bad day or a bad week, you've got someone to kind of bounce that off of and see what you need to do to get it back on track, or, you know, kind of help you learn to be your own health detective. What's going on? What can we
Mm-hmm.
change?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a key piece of what we do when we work with people.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you tell anyone that's experiencing something like that, what you're going through, or a SIBO diagnosis? They've
Yeah.
only been to conventional.
That there is light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to get there. And it's a huge learning curve. I wrote a little like some notes and stuff about everything that I've like been through and stuff. I feel like a lot of this was like a learning curve. You know, all the vegetables on like the phase 1 and phase 2 diet list. I'm like, I've never even heard of this. Where do I get it? How do I prepare it? Do I cut it up? Like, so how do I cook it? So for sure, a huge learning curve. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. Um, but you just hold on and you can do it. And I hope everything works out, but it's hard, but you can do it. I guess is what I'm going to say.
Right. And you can eliminate it. And then my other question, oh, go ahead, Jenny.
I was going to say that is why we call that beginning a boot camp. We don't want to trick
Right.
you. You know, it is a lot. It is a
Yeah,
learning curve.
yeah.
It is hard, but it does open up. You know, as you move forward, it gets a little
Right.
easier and a little,
Yeah.
you know, more sustainable as you
Mhm.
move forward in your life.
Right. And once it's not hard anymore because you have a handle on it,
Yeah.
then
You're right.
it's easy, you know, but it's hard in the beginning,
Yeah.
but well worth it. But I was going to ask you too, just because you are a nurse and you're in the
Mhm.
conventional medical system,
Yeah.
has this experience changed your view, you know, with maybe conventional medicine or working with your own patients?
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I've always kind of had, I would say this has definitely changed it more, but I've always kind of questioned, like, I feel like even in school, like, but why do they have the UTI? Why do they have cardiac disease? Like, you know, I know like this is how you treat it with antibiotics, but like, why does this, in this case scenario, why does this patient have the UTI? Like, why are they not asking me that? Why are they asking, how do I treat it?
Right.
Because everything is, what do you do when this happens? You know, it's not, why did this happen?
Right.
So yes, I definitely like think of things differently. In that people ask me like if I want to go back to school, like for my master's and to be like a nurse practitioner. And I don't, because I mean, I enjoyed school. I like learning stuff, but as far as like being a nurse practitioner, I don't think I can go into a clinic and someone comes with me at high blood pressure and I say, oh, here's lisinopril or here's blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't agree with it. I don't believe in it. So I don't think that's my answer when people ask if like I want to go back to school. My answer is no because of that. Um, but it is kind of interesting. I do have like patients that are 95, 96 years old and they look like they're 75. I mean, one time I was like, I walked into the room and I'm like, wait a second, I'm in the wrong room because of her age. And I was like, she doesn't look like she's 97 years old. And we got to talking and she's like, I eat really healthy and I eat a lot of vegetables, no processed foods. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible. So I know people out there think the same way as us, but
Right.
it would be awesome if we kind of changed the way the healthcare system looked at things.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people that get into nursing and kind of at the level you're at, it's because they're drawn to be like a caregiver, and that's the pathway that is, common presented to people. And then you start, a lot of people that we work with, and that's probably not, maybe that's an odd group because they come to us.
Right.
But it's that same kind of thought process that you've always wanted to help people. And the more you learn, the more you question that system, and the less you feel that you can participate in it, I guess. But you still want to help people. You still want to be a
Yeah.
caregiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's a hard place to be in
Yes.
today's conventional system.
It can be very aggravating, I've been on both sides. Like my dad, he had colon cancer, and so long story short, he was on this chemo medication that we pretty much think killed him. He like bled out. Long story short, he passed away within 3 weeks. And so like I've been on like the patient side, and then I've also been on the nurse side, obviously. And both sides, it's horrible, and I do feel we need like the conventional Western medicine, like with like what are you going to do if someone's actively having a heart attack? Like we need the cath lab, we need the cardiologist, we need all of, I do feel like there is a need for it. But as far as like preventing, like especially like the small stuff, the like for the high blood pressure, for example, like I feel like, the doctors are just like, eat healthy. And they're like, okay. And then they just turn around and go eat healthy. And then they're back in 2 months and their blood pressure is even higher. So, you know what I mean? It's just, it's aggravating. But unfortunately, that's where we're at right now.
Right. Well, hopefully we're turning the tide. And you're right, because conventional, there is a time and a place for conventional medicine. You have an accident, you have a heart attack, you have a car accident, you have a birth defect. I mean, there are times many times when conventional is your option, but for just all of these chronic issues that we talk about all the time, and, again, talking about SIBO, but they're just not equipped for that. And that's the thing. So yeah, there's definitely a divide between, but yeah, I was just curious if your thought process had changed at all, but yes. So is there anything else you want to add that you can think of?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah. That's a really,
and she's Lauren's, it's only 3 months in, so she still has 3 months active working with us. So
yes.
But we did want to do this today just to show how in a short amount of time, so much can change,
Yeah.
And
and we always appreciate when someone will come on. The last one we did kind of went through someone's journey, but they didn't want to be on. And I think that for a lot of people, like seeing you speak your own story, and making that connection can really be something that helps them or lets them help a friend or family make this change, whether it's with us or with someone similar, or if it even just plants that seed of change, that they need to take care of things before they get to that point. That's what these podcasts for. So we always appreciate people coming on, having guests. And if you're listening or watching, we always appreciate you subscribing, like, share, get this out there. So whoever needs to hear it, hears it. That's what we do it for.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you so much, Lauren. And we will talk to you soon ourselves.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.